Welcome to AI Brief. This is episode 415,
I'm Leah.
and I'm Amin. Today, we are stripping away the noise to get to the facts. The story for the last year, really, has been that we are running out of power, running out of chips, and, well, running out of space to build the future of intelligence.
But today we're looking at two totally radically different solutions to that exact problem.
One solution involves literally leaving the planet to build a brand new industrial base on the moon.
Which I know sounds like complete science fiction, but the blueprints are actually being drawn up as we speak.
And the other solution involves staying right here on Earth, but getting so hyper-efficient with software that you can rival the world's best models
Yeah.
using hardware that was, frankly, supposed to be obsolete.
It's the ultimate divergent strategy. You've got this brute force in space approach from xAI.
And then the optimization under constraint approach coming out of China with Z.ai.
Exactly. We're going to unpack both of those massive shifts today.
Plus, we'll have a roundup of how Anthropic, Apple, and Meta are trying to fit into this new reality. And finally, the tools you need to actually get some work done this week.
It is a packed stack of sources for this deep dive.
So let's start with the story that feels the most like a movie script, xAI. We've known since the merger with SpaceX that Elon Musk wanted to leverage that rocket capability for compute.
Right.
But they just held their first all-hands meeting since the merger, and they posted it online. It's really the first time we've seen the org chart for this combined company.
And that restructure tells you everything about where they think the value is. They are not just building a chatbot anymore.
No.
Musk announced 4 core teams. 2 of them are pretty standard. You have the Grok team for chat and a dedicated coding unit.
Which is interesting on its own. It signals that code generation is becoming its own vertical, not just a feature.
Yeah.
But you're talking about the other two,
Yeah.
the Imagine team and what was that fourth one called? Macro Hard.
Macro hard. It's a classic Musk naming convention, right? Taking a jab at Microsoft.
Of course.
But you can't let the joke distract you from the function. This unit is dedicated to building, and this is a quote, agents emulating companies.
Okay, so this is that idea we've touched on before, the synthetic enterprise. We're not just talking about an agent that books your travel.
No, not at all. We're talking about an AI architecture that mimics a CEO, a CFO, an HR department, and has them all interact with each other to solve complex problems.
It's about B2B automation on a massive scale. Instead of one agent doing everything, you have specialized agents debating, checking each other's work, basically executing the functions of an entire company.
And that is what MacroHeart is building.
It is a frighteningly ambitious goal, but somehow it pales in comparison to the infrastructure news. We have to talk about the moon.
We do.
Because usually when a tech CEO talks about going to the moon, they mean a stock price. Musk means the actual rock in the sky.
He does. And this connects right back to that resource constraint we mentioned at the top. We are running out of gigawatts here on Earth. So Musk's plan is to just establish AI satellite factories on the lunar surface.
The idea being you use lunar resources, the silicon, the metals, and the totally unblocked solar energy to manufacture compute clusters in low gravity.
Exactly. But manufacturing is only half the problem. If you build a massive data center on the moon, that's great, but how do you get the compute power or the satellites themselves where they need to go?
And that's where the physics gets really interesting. He pitched an electromagnetic mass driver.
Which is, in essence, a railgun.
Right, a kinetic launch system.
Yeah.
On Earth, if you want to get something into space, you're fighting the rocket equation.
Yeah.
You need fuel to lift the payload, but then you need more fuel just to lift the fuel.
It is incredibly inefficient. But the moon has 1/6 of Earth's gravity and no atmosphere.
So you don't need a giant rocket to blast off. You just need a very long track of magnets.
Precisely. You build this long electromagnetic track, you accelerate the cargo, whether it's finished satellites or components for data centers in deep space, and you literally shoot them into orbit.
Zero chemical fuel for the launch. It's all electrically powered, and if you have solar on the moon, that power is effectively free.
So the strategy is, Earth is too crowded, too hot, too regulated. So we move the heavy lifting of AI infrastructure into space.
While Amazon and Microsoft are fighting for nuclear permits in Virginia, xAI is planning to bypass the planet entirely. It's high risk, obviously.
Insanely high risk. But if it works, the scale is completely uncapped. It redefines the concept of a competitive moat.
But while xAI is looking up, there is a very, very serious challenge rising from the east. We need to talk about Z.ai and this new model, GLM-5.
This is the counter-narrative. If you can't build massive moon bases and you're restricted from buying the absolute cutting-edge NVIDIA chips because of sanctions, what do?
You optimize.
You optimize. And GLM-5 is the proof that this strategy is working. The specs are startling. 744 billion parameters.
That is a massive model.
It's huge. But the magic isn't just the total size, it's the architecture. It's an open weights model, but it uses a sparse attention architecture. It's very similar to what DeepSeek pioneered.
Okay, for anyone who hasn't spent their week reading our Cascove papers, let's break down sparse attention, because this is why they can run such a huge model so cheaply, right?
Exactly right. Think of a traditional dense model like a classroom where every single student has to answer every single question in unison. It takes a ton of energy and time.
Okay.
Sparse attention, or mixture of experts, is like having that same classroom, but for a math question, you only wake up the 3 math whizzes. For a history question, you wake up the history buffs.
So the model has 744 billion parameters of, let's say, knowledge, but for any specific word it generates, it's only using a tiny fraction of that.
A tiny fraction. It only activates about 40 billion parameters per token. So you get the intelligence of a giant model with the speed and the cost of a much smaller one.
And the benchmarks are backing this up. I was looking at the Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index. GLM-5 scored a 50. That puts it ahead of Google's Gemini 3 Pro and Grok 4.
It's sitting right on the heels of the Western frontier models. It's just behind Claude Opus 4.6 and GPT 5.2. And on the humanities last exam benchmark, which is notoriously difficult, it actually beat Opus 4.5.
And this is running on Huawei Ascend chips.
That is the kicker. It's running on domestic Chinese hardware. This is so significant because it suggests the hardware sanctions are not the kill switch that Washington hoped they would be.
If you can optimize the software enough, you can close the performance gap even with slightly inferior silicon.
And they are releasing the weights. It's open source, MIT license. You can go to Hugging Face right now and download it.
And the API pricing?
$1 per million input tokens.
Which is just, it's aggressively cheap for a frontier class model. It's going to put massive pressure on Western open source companies like Meta.
Absolutely. If the Chinese models are freer, cheaper, and nearly as smart, developers are going to use them.
So we have xAI trying to outbuild everyone in space, and Z.ai trying to outcode everyone on efficiency. That really sets the stage for the rest of the industry. So let's slow it down a bit and look at how the incumbents are reacting.
And the theme here seems to be entrenchment. The big players are trying to lock in their users and secure their power sources.
Let's start with Anthropic. They made a move this week that seems generous on the surface, expanding the free tier. But I suspect there's a deeper strategy here.
Oh, there absolutely is. They've unlocked file creation, connectors, and skills for all free users. This means you can now generate Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoint decks, and Word docs without paying for a subscription. You can also link Claude to Slack, Notion, and even PayPal.
So before, Claude was just a really smart chat box for free users. Now, by letting it create files and connect to your apps, they're trying to make it the operating system for your work.
They need users to build habits. If you get used to Claude running your Notion board or drafting your presentation slides, you're much less likely to switch over to ChatGPT or Gemini. It is a land grab for your workflow.
And they're also paying close attention to the public backlash against AI's massive energy appetite. They announced they're going to cover electricity price increases for their data centers to shield local ratepayers from the bill.
This is becoming a trend. We saw Microsoft do it, now Anthropic. They know that if their data centers drive up the utility bills for the people living nearby, that the political and regulatory hammer is going to come down hard. This is preemptive damage control.
Now, speaking of power, Meta is doing the opposite of damage control. They're just building more power.
They broke ground on a new data center in Lebanon, Indiana. They're adding a full gigawatt of capacity.
A gigawatt. That is enough to power a medium-sized city.
It is. And it just shows that despite the efficiency gains we just talked about with Z.ai, the big U.S. players are still betting on massive, massive scale. They believe the future winner is the one with the biggest engine.
Meanwhile, Apple is waiting.
Still waiting. The Gemini-powered Siri upgrade has reportedly been pushed back again. It's now looking like it will arrive with iOS 26.5 or maybe even 27.
It really feels like Apple is stuck between a rock and a hard place. They need AI to stay relevant, but their entire brand is built on the idea that it just works. And right now, LLMs don't always just work.
Exactly. They hallucinate. If Siri tells 100 million people the wrong election date or gives out bad medical advice, Apple's stock tanks. They are choosing safety over speed, but they are risking being left behind in the process.
OpenAI, on the other hand, is confident enough that they're creating entirely new C-suite titles. They elevated Joshua Akiem to chief futurist.
It is a fascinating role. His job is, and I'm quoting, to study AI impacts and engage the world to discuss them.
To me, that sounds a lot like chief narrative officer.
It is. It is soft power. OpenAI knows the technology is getting scary for the average person. They need a high-profile figure who isn't the CEO to go out there, sit on panels, talk to governments, and frame the public conversation. It's about shaping the perception of the future before the future actually happens.
And finally, Google is doing what Google does best, figuring out how to sell things.
They are rolling out UCP-powered checkout in Gemini. UCP is their universal checkout profile, basically, a way to buy things across different apps without having to re-enter your information.
So the chat interface is becoming the transaction layer.
And the ad layer. They're integrating their video generation tool into Google Ads, and they're testing sponsored retailer ads inside AI mode. The classic search bar is disappearing, so they have to move the billboard inside the chatbot.
It's the inevitable monetization of the conversation. All right, we've covered the space race, the efficiency wars, and the corporate maneuvering. But what can you actually use today? We have a stack of trending tools, and some of these are surprisingly practical.
We do. And I want to circle back to the two big ones we already mentioned because they are tools you can use right now. GLM-5 is available on Hugging Face if you're a developer. If you want to see what a 744 billion parameter model feels like when it's optimized, go spin it up.
And for the non-coders, the new Claude-free features are live. I actually tried the Make Me a PowerPoint feature this morning. It's not perfect, but it builds the skeleton of a deck in seconds. It saves you that initial hour of just staring at a blank page.
That is the best use case. Now let's look at Ming Flash Omni 2.0 from Ant. The Omni part is key here. It handles speech, vision, and image generation all within one model.
So instead of having to daisy chain a vision model to a text model, it does it all natively.
Yes. This is great for complex tasks, like showing the AI a video and asking it to describe the audio, or vice versa. It understands the relationship between different media types.
I want to talk about Lemon.
Yeah.
Mostly because I hate typing emails.
You and everyone else. Lemon is a voice command tool, and it claims to be 12 times faster than typing because it doesn't just transcribe. You can just ramble at it. You can say, hey, tell Jim I need the report by Friday, but be nice about it. And also ask him about the budget.
And it takes that word salad and formats it into a polite, structured, professional email.
That is the killer feature. Structure from chaos. That seems to be the theme for Highnote as well.
Right.
It's designed to ingest the mess of your work-life audio from meetings, random PDFs, scattered notes, and synthesize them all into actionable items.
Actionable is the key word there. I don't need a transcript of my meeting. I need to know what I promised to do.
Exactly. It filters out the noise. Then we have Conut, that's C-O-N-U-T. This one is for the creatives. It's an all-in-one media generator for images, immersive video, and audio. It's trying to replace the Adobe suite with a prompt box.
And finally, one for the data analysts. Pain.
Pain is interesting. It treats the spreadsheet as a collaborative environment with an AI. It's not just write a formula for me. You can ask the agent to analyze trends, restructure the data, or visualize it for you. It's like having a junior data analyst sitting right inside your Excel sheet.
It really feels like the tooling layer is maturing. A year ago, the tools were all about, look at this funny image. Now they're about, here's how to automate your email, your spreadsheets, and your meetings.
We are moving from the toy phase to the utility phase. And that's happening at the same time the frontier models are pushing into space and optimizing on silicon. It's a converging wave of innovation.
It's a lot to keep up with. You have one group trying to leave the planet to find enough energy to run these things, and another group trying to make them efficient enough to run on anything. And somewhere in the middle, we're just trying to get our emails written.
That is the reality of AI in 2026.
If you found this deep dive helpful, the best thing you can do is share it with someone else who is trying to make sense of all this noise.
And make sure you're following the show so you don't miss the next update. The landscape changes fast.
Thanks for listening.
See you in the next episode.